All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you all so much for being here. My name is Jen Engstrom. I'm the State Director for CalPERG Education Fund, which is the California affiliate for the U.S. PERG Education Fund. And we are here today to release Truth in Recycling, a new report we wrote with Environment America Research and Policy Center that looks at whether plastic packaging used by Amazon is as recyclable as the labeling claims. I'm joined today by Celeste Mayfrance-Wango, the Beyond Plastics Campaign Director with Environment America Research and Policy Center, and Matt Littlejohn, Senior Vice President for Strategic Initiatives with Oceana. I'll start by sharing the key findings from our report, and then we'll hear from Celeste about the impacts of plastic waste on our environment, and Matt on the work they are doing at Oceana to call on Amazon to reduce plastic in their shipments. And then after our presentations, we will open it up to any questions that you have. So nearly every time we order something from Amazon, we are left with a pile of plastic packaging, plastic mailers, bags, and air pillows, all of which become waste as soon as our packages are opened. Amazon claims that many of their packaging items are recyclable. So that could be either through curbside recycling programs for their paper and cardboard packaging, or through a store drop-off system for their plastic packaging. As you can see here, the bubble-lined bags, plastic bags, air pillows, all of these come with the Chasing Arrows recycling symbol and the word store drop-off and the label howtorecycle.info, indicating that you should go to this website to find a location to bring the plastic for recycling. Now, we were suspicious of the effectiveness of this system because we know that plastic is hard to recycle. Less than 10% of plastic has been recycled, and only 1% of plastic has been recycled more than once. So we decided to do an investigation using tracking devices, mainly Apple AirTags, to track where Amazon packaging ends up when placed in one of these store drop bins around the country. We placed tracking devices in 93 bundles of Amazon plastic packaging and put them in store drop bins in 10 states around the country. And here is what we found. So we found no evidence that Amazon's packaging is being widely recycled. Only 4 of the devices were tracked to a materials recovery center that sorts plastics for recycling. So there's no way of knowing if the packaging was then actually sorted to be recycled or not. We actually called the 3 recycling sorting centers that our Amazon packaging was tracked to, and 2 of them said they don't accept Amazon packaging. And the 3rd is in Tecate, Mexico, where US regulators have no jurisdiction to ensure that the plastic is actually getting properly recycled. Many of the packages ended up in landfills, in incinerators, or at a port, like the Port of Los Angeles, likely headed to another country for disposal. Specifically, 13 of the 93 packages were tracked to a landfill, which is 3 times more than the packages that ended up in a recycling sorting center. 2 of the packages were sent to an incinerator, and 3 of the packages ended up at the Port of Los Angeles, again, likely headed to another country. And we know from recent history that large amounts of plastic sent overseas from the US does not really get recycled. Many of the packages ended up at a facility that downcycles plastic. So 24 of the packages were tracked to Trex Company, which is a company that makes benches and decks out of plastic film and reclaimed sawdust. And while at first glance, this seems promising that several of the packages went to a company that turns plastic into something useful, a deeper dive into Trex's operation suggests that the Amazon packaging might not actually have been used to make their decks and benches. And that's because the company does have pretty strict guidelines for the plastic film it can use and specifies that the film must be free of food or liquid contamination, and that the label should be removed. And many of our volunteers found that there was food scraps, liquid in the collection bins that they used for the investigation, which is not that surprising because, as you can see here, oftentimes the bins are shaped just very similar to and right next to trash bins. And so because of these standards, the plastic film used by Trex is mostly from industrial operations rather than consumer drop-off programs because it's just more consistent and less likely to be contaminated. But the bigger thing here is that even if the plastic was used by Trex, the plastic film is not technically being recycled, it is being downcycled. The plastic packaging is not being turned back into packaging or any other product that decreases the need to produce more plastic. Rather, it's being turned into a product that is not recyclable, and so it does not decrease the need to use virgin plastic to make Amazon's packaging. So while this is, definitely better than a landfill to, make plastic lumber out of the plastic packages, we really need solutions that reduce the need to bring more plastic into the world. So our investigation suggests that the store drop-off system for recycling plastic film is failing. 95.7% of the plastic packages were tracked to locations other than a recycling center, including landfills, incinerators, distribution centers, or it was downcycled. At the same time, there's no evidence that the store drop-off system helps to reduce the need to create new plastic, which is the real purpose of recycling. Recycling plastic is not a viable way to address the plastics waste crisis. Instead, what we need is to get companies like Amazon to switch to more sustainable alternatives, and Amazon can really lead the way. So now I want to hand it over to Celeste Mayford-Swongo with Environment America Research and Policy Center.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Celeste Mayford-Swongo. I'm the Beyond Plastic Campaign Director with Environment America Research and Policy Center. Thank you, Jen, for walking through our investigation into the recyclability claims on Amazon plastic packaging and our top-line findings, which of course are that there's no evidence that Amazon plastic packaging is being widely recycled. I did want to just take a couple minutes here to share a little bit more about why what happens to the plastic products we use every day matters a lot. We live in an economy that encourages us to buy, use, and toss at the greatest possible speed. Modern life has been built around convenience, and single-use plastics like foam containers, plastic shopping bags, plastic utensils, and plastic packaging are commonplace, consuming an enormous amount of natural resources and creating millions of tons of unnecessary waste. In the United States, we generate enough plastic waste to fill Cowboys Stadium, the largest professional football stadium in the country, every 16 hours. Our wasted plastic items accumulate in landfills, create toxic ash and air pollution in incinerators, or escape into the environment. As Jen mentioned, plastic as a material is a big challenge at the end of its use because it does not break down easily, if at all, persisting for hundreds of years or more, wreaking havoc on ecosystems and endangering public health and the overall health of our planet. Plastic has been found in every corner of the globe, from alpine lakes in the Pyrenees Mountains to the Mariana Trench, the lowest point in any ocean. They've also been found in our food, our beverages, and inside of our bodies, potentially exposing us to hazardous compounds and additives. The upstream production of so much single-use plastic also causes environmental problems. The extraction and refinement of fossil feedstocks for plastics release an array of toxic substances into the air and water, including known carcinogens and neurotoxins, all while exacerbating climate change. A common misconception is that recycling will solve our plastic waste problem. While recycling provides a solution for materials like metal and glass, it simply has not worked for plastic. Single-use plastics were never really designed to have a second life. And despite a lot of investments in plastics recycling over the past 30 years, there are many challenges with recycling this material, which has led to abysmal recycling rates. Less than 9% of plastic gets recycled. And to be clear, plastics that are collected and processed and made into new products are, for the most part, being downcycled. So they're being turned into lower quality products that are either not recyclable or not as recyclable as the product from which it came, because the quality of the material degrades every time it gets processed. And so eventually, whatever product it gets turned into will end up in the landfill, incinerator, or our environment. A quote-unquote recycling system like the plastic film drop-off system that we investigated that doesn't do anything to offset the need to produce more plastic is a false solution. The only real solution to addressing plastic pollution is reduction. Ultimately, if we want to address the proliferation of plastics in our lives and in the environment, we have to stop making so much of it. We have to dramatically reduce the amount of disposable plastic products that are handed to consumers every day, including Amazon plastic packaging. And that's why we've joined PIRG and Oceana and many other organizations in calling on Amazon to stop using plastic packaging in its US shipments. Amazon has a real opportunity to lead the online shipping industry and show us all that this type of change is possible, and we hope they seize that opportunity. And now I'm going to turn things over to Matt Littlejohn from Oceana.
Thanks so much. Oceana is the world's largest ocean conservation advocacy group just dedicated to protecting the world's oceans. And we are focused on getting Amazon to reduce its plastic because plastic is a huge issue for the oceans. And plastic film, which is the kind of plastic that you saw in those blue and white plastic packages, is a very large problem for the oceans. And it can be lethal for the animals in the oceans when they ingest it. It's one of the most common forms of marine plastic pollution that's found in nearshore areas around the world. So we think this is a big problem. And we have a campaign to get the company to commit to reduce its plastic use globally and everywhere, and also in the US. As this chart shows, what we've been doing in order in support of the campaign and to show the scale of this problem, we've been estimating how much plastic packaging the company actually has been generating over the past 3 years. And as you can see, it's been going up every year. There's been hundreds of millions of pounds of plastic generated by the company, from 465 million in 2019 to our last estimate of over 700 million pounds of plastic packaging waste created by the company. Since then, the company has actually announced that it is starting to reduce the amount of plastic it uses globally. They reported last fall that the amount of plastic they ship through their operation centers has declined by 11.6%. This is a number that is not inclusive of everything that you would buy on Amazon.com or the different websites. This is just the items that would be fulfilled by Amazon, either directly by the company or the items sold by their vendors the company then fulfills. So this is a good sign. But the issue, I think maybe Celeste would go to the next slide, or Jen. Thank you so much. The issue is that the company has not decided to do this yet in the United States. So this is before I get into that detail, more detail about that point. This is a photo that we actually took from the bottom of the ocean that shows what happens with the plastic and marine animals. So unfortunately, it's not a good thing for the ocean, as I've noted before. Can you go to the next slide as well? Celeste, thanks. So as I said, the company has reduced its plastic packaging globally everywhere. They've actually committed to eliminate single-use plastic packaging in India. They announced last fall that they're moving away for their operations centers for shipments from there to moving away from plastic packaging in Europe. And as a result, they've had this significant global drop in their plastic packaging use that they're reporting. Can you go to the next slide, please? Jen, I think. Is this me still? Jen, sorry. But the point I want to make is that they have not made the same commitment for plastic reduction yet in the United States. And the United States is by far and away the company's biggest market. So the company is committed to reduce plastic packaging in most of its major markets, except for the US. And this is a problem for the US, obviously, but also globally, because the US accounts for nearly 70% of the company's total sales. So we're calling the company to also commit to plastic packaging reduction in the United States. They've shown they can do this. Last year, they released a video and talked about how they're moving at one of their fulfillment centers in the US to move away from plastic packaging for the fulfillment center. But they have not yet made a commitment to do this, all across the US, a time-bound commitment all across the US, and we would like the company to do that. This is a photo, Jen, right, of activists in front of the company headquarters. We've also, with allies, been pushing on the company through their investors to call for plastic packaging reduction as well. Jen, should I turn it over to you at this point?
Sure, yeah, that sounds great. Well, I think that's basically what we have. I mean, it's clear from our investigation that Amazon's plastic packaging is not really getting recycled. It's time for the company to move away from using so much plastic in the first place. And that is our collective, call to the company. So now we can actually open it up to questions about the report, about the investigation, or from any of the speakers here. You can feel free to use the Q&A feature to ask your question. So I'll give folks a moment to do that. And while people are doing that, I'll also just make sure that you all have the report. So I'll throw it in the chat. That everyone can see it. And I'll put my email in the chat as well. So if you do have additional follow-up questions about the report, you can also email us. One question is, how do you know that the trackers were not separated from the bundles before reaching the landfills or incinerators? I mean, the reality is there definitely are unknowns in this project. So it could be, that the trackers themselves were detected as contamination. Though most likely, if that were to happen, it would have happened at a materials resorting center, at a recycling center. It would have at least gone to a recycling center at some point, before being detected as contamination. And what we saw is that the ones that went to landfills and incinerators just went straight there. They did not go to any sort of recycling sorting center first. So that we think is a real problem. We'll wait one extra second for questions. Okay, well, we'll just leave it there. If you do have additional questions after you've taken a chance to look at the report. Oh, there's one more. Sorry, I want to make sure people have time to type in their questions. This report seems like a great jump starter for action. What more do you think is necessary to get Amazon to move in the US on changing? That's a great question. I mean, we think that they definitely should be hearing from their customers. So, if people are shoppers of Amazon, just tell them that you want them to use less plastic in their packaging. The more that they hear from the customers, the more that we can, convince them this is something that people want to see. So we've actually circulated a petition, and I can throw that in the chat too, if folks want to spread that out, because the more that we can get more people to take that action, the more we can get Amazon to actually do the thing that clearly their customers want them to do. Another question was, has Amazon responded to the petitions that you delivered? I mean, Matt, you can speak to the work that you guys are doing. From our perspective, we haven't heard very much from them. They point to their sustainability report and some of the actions that they have done, which is true. They have, made some steps in the right direction, but we don't think that they're moving nearly as fast enough, and they really need to make a strong commitment to reduce and eliminate plastic in their US shipments.
We agree.
Matt, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, we agree, Jen. We think the company needs to step up and make a commitment to reduce the plastic packaging that generates in the United States, and also make a global commitment because it's made commitments in major markets, but not globally. And there are smaller countries where the company operates where there are high rates of plastic pollution that go into the ocean. So we would like them to make a global commitment as well. We do talk to the company. They have often disputed our estimates and our reports. So we've actually had an ongoing dialogue with them, and we've been speaking with them. And we know that they see the work of the activists and also all the reports and so forth. It does have an effect.
Another question is, are there any laws about truth in labeling that are either chasing arrows? So there are some states, California actually, that has taken action by passing legislation that says you cannot use the chasing arrows, recycling symbol on things unless they're actually getting recycled and hitting recycling targets. That is a law that is going into effect slowly over the course of this year in California. But other states can definitely, follow that and take action as well. And that will make sure that, companies are only using the recycling symbol on materials that are actually getting recycled. We think it's important for customers to have that, truthful information. So again, California has taken that action. Other states should follow. Matt and Celeste, can you comment on the broader use beyond Amazon of how to recycle store drop-off labels? To what extent should the organization be held accountable for the situation that you've uncovered here?
Jen, I would defer to you. I'd be happy to chime in, but I think you'd have a more direct point of view probably about that question.
Yeah, go ahead and take it, Jen.
Yeah, sure. So How to Recycle, again, is the website that you go to that's listed on the Amazon packaging to help you figure out where to go to drop off your packaging. Clearly, again, there is an issue here if it's not actually getting recycled. I think that we need truthful labeling, like I just said. And so we should be getting, states and really the federal government through the, FTC to take action to make sure that labels are only used on things that are actually getting recycled, to hold, companies like How to Recycle and that system accountable. At the same time, though, we think only so much that we really can do to improve recycling. It's clearly just not working for plastic. And so that's why our call is for Amazon to just stop using plastic in the first place when there are other alternatives. So, we can put a lot of time and energy into trying to figure out how to make plastic recycling work, but it's just better, more effective, faster to just stop using plastic in the first place. So that's why that's been our focus. Okay, so when the law takes effect in California, Amazon will have to stop using the chasing arrows on their packaging, right? That effectively, yes. So this means no company can use the recycling symbol on things unless they're hitting certain targets of recycling. I think for the store drop-off system in this California specific legislation, it's 75% of the plastic put into those store drop-ins has to proven to actually be recycled. And, this investigation indicates that that is not currently happening.
Just to add in, I want to note too that the company notes that on its website and literature that plastic film, so this is again the blue and white bags and the type of packaging we're talking about, also the air pillows and so forth. They note that it's not accepted curbside by most recycling programs across the country. They've noted this for years. So it's the whole fact that they're directing customers still to go to this very confusing system that Jen just described does not really meet, one of their core leadership principles that, to help their customers have ease of use and have an easy, have things make sense to them and an experience as when they go on Amazon.com. And so that's not really the case. It's the system does not make a lot of sense for their customers who actually want to recycle. And we've done surveys of Amazon Prime customers, and they overwhelmingly are worried about plastic pollution. So we really think the company needs to, really address this issue and make it, stop going through this elaborate system that does not appear to be, as the study has shown, to actually result in these items being recycled.
And we had one more question, which is, what is your recommendation for what to replace the packaging with? I can start, which is just that we think that customers should be able to easily recycle, the packaging that is being used. cardboard, so the cardboard boxes, cardboard mailers, those are curbside recyclable. That's what we think Amazon should switch to. They already have those materials and are committed to only using those in some places. And so we want them to make that commitment in the US and globally as well. I don't know, Matt, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, the company actually has created a lightweight paper-based mailer. That is, you probably, if you were an Amazon customer, you've probably seen this packaging. So they, for some reason, have not rolled it out as quickly as as they could in terms of in terms of reducing plastic packaging in the US at a faster rate. So that's an issue, right? Because again, these blue and white mailers are not curbside recyclable, and they actually have the alternative in place already. So it's not like someday they could figure out how to do this, how to get rid of this plastic packaging. They already know how to do it. They have in the US, and as I said before, they've already done this in Europe and other markets. The US is kind of, in a way, being singled out. For some reason, the US is the place where customers still have to get their products and packages in plastic. And that's not the case for other big Amazon markets.
All right. Well, I think those are all of our questions. So thank you again so much for being here. This has been live streamed on our Facebook page and be recorded. If you'd like a recording, you can reach out to me to get one. Again, I put my email in the chat as well as our full report. Feel free to follow up if you have any additional questions. Thank you all so much.